What's up, everybody? Emperor John Kill 3D Gaming here, and I know it's been a minute since I have done a Yu-Gi-Oh video since my last two Yu-Gi-Oh videos, and one Yu-Gi-Oh video helped by the Makiyama reviewer. Now, I'm not going to retract anything I have said about Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm going to point something out that unfortunately the toxic part of the Yu-Gi-Oh fandom doesn't seem to understand. If you love something, if you love a game, if you love a movie series, TV series, comic series, book series, anything of that sort, if you truly love a series, then you will criticize a series and point out its flaws and point out what really doesn't work about it anymore, or in fact what is practically a failing part of said product. With Yu-Gi-Oh, the one thing that cannot be denied, and fanboys of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm talking about the toxic fanboys, the ones that have been literally still in the comment section of both my Yu-Gi-Oh videos, who still haven't been able to come up with any concrete arguments. They just rather insult, name call, and trash talk. And you know what that shows? That means they are not intelligent enough to defend the product. They're not intelligent enough to defend their points of Yu-Gi-Oh! And these are people that defend the power creep in the game, which is one of the biggest complaints about Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is why not that many people enjoy playing the game anymore. And they try to dismiss you just saying, oh, you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Boomer. Here's the thing. If people were boomers, why are people still playing the game? As much of the flaws there is with the game, I still play the game. I've had a family member, my cousin Joseph, who used to do the tournaments all the way up until at least, I want to say, he retired doing the tournaments from 2015, 2016 because he settled down and had a family of his own. He's the one that showed me and taught me everything about the game. You know? And the sad part is, even he agrees, and he is a person that actually does, in his downtime with his friends, plays Yu-Gi-Oh! Still. He plays Master Duel, and he got pretty fucking far online. Every time I watch him play, I'm like, dude, how do you even do it? And he's like, look, talent doesn't go away. But he does acknowledge the problem with the game is if you don't play a specific way, or if you don't play with a specific deck type, then you're not going to have a good time. He always harkens back to the time where, okay, people could say, oh yes, using the same traps, the same spells, this, that. These are just people that reference the first few years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or at least, these are people just acknowledged what the show taught them. These are not people using logical arguments behind the game. Okay? Because then how is it when you play games such as Legacy of the Duelist or Master Duel, you can still fuse old cards with new cards and still be able to win? But no, these people who say stuff like that, who say that there's nothing wrong with the game, that it's perfect, or even say, yeah, there's power creep there, but they're not going to acknowledge it, those are not people that are fans of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm going to say it right now. People who defend the modern style, they aren't fans of the game. They're fans of the power creep. Because it proves that there's many other games out there they could play, right? They probably get their ass kicked a lot playing different types of games. Why do they like playing Yu-Gi-Oh? And I'm talking about the modern fans. They like playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you can easily break the game. And what's the point of the game if the duel ends in 2 or 3 minutes? You know, they're probably like, oh, the original style is boring. Yes, we will prefer later. But no, it's not that it's boring. It's tension-filled. That's what it is. They don't like tension. They don't want nobody to threaten their broken decks or broken style of play. Okay? The fun about Yu-Gi-Oh! Back then, and at least up to a certain point, was you can have, yes, there was probably multiples of the same card, and yeah, you can see the same cards are pretty, but it depends how you use those cards. It depends in which style and in which form that you use them, or the circumstances that the cards came into play. I play with Matt Kiyoma, right? My buddy Matt Kiyoma, he plays the modern style of Yu-Gi-Oh! And he criticizes it, but he still plays it. And he's really good at the game. I've never touted myself as somebody who's being good at the game, but I enjoy playing it, and I've had my fair share of win streaks and victories. Hell, I've gone to a few tournaments myself down here in Florida back when they used to have it here at the Mosey Hotel, and these were statewide tournaments. I would at least get to fourth or fifth or fourth place, and I wouldn't pride myself thinking I was the best. The fact that I made it that far was good for me, and people were cool, and people were like very respectful. But now, when you play against modern Yu-Gi-Oh fans, they like to throw it in your face that, oh, I've defeated you, I've this. They like to trash you. The morality of Yu-Gi-Oh really has gone down the toilet, and Konami doesn't seem to be improving that. They rather foster and support the toxic part of the fan base by giving them constant broken cards, constant abilities, always changing the rules, thinking they're making the game better, but they're really not. Every time they improve one thing, they set the game back by 7 times. Okay? And that's not how a card game should be. Let me use Pokemon for example. Pokemon might introduce a bunch of Pokemon cards, different types of Pokemon and things like that, but the fundamental core of the game is still the same. You can still play Pokemon from when it first came out up to this point. Magic the Gathering. You can still play Magic the Gathering. The same rule set is the same way to play the game is still the same. It's just there are new and different cards. Yu-Gi-Oh was once beloved by everybody, but now it is only beloved by a certain sect of people in the fandom that defend the broken nature. And that's not how a game should be. Don't they realize that the common denominator of the problems of Yu-Gi-Oh not only comes from the broken nature of certain cards or the rules, all the way to why a lot of people are not even playing it anymore? Do they not think about that? No, they don't. They only think about what's the next broken set of cards I can use so my opponent can't play the game. And if you go back through the comments section of my video, there's nobody there who has actually been able to argue in defense of the broken nature. There's actually people who have argued with them in favor of what I have said. And it's not a matter of I don't choose to agree with people. You have your own opinion and free voice. Hey, that's why we have free will. But the difference is, it's how you form the argument and it's how you form the opinion. Okay? And a lot of people have said, modern Yu-Gi-Oh does suck. And it's right now in the state that it is not going to get any better. Okay? There's even Yu-Gi-Oh channels, okay, who I like watching the Yu-Gi-Oh channels, like TCG Anime and everything like that. They've even stated themselves, even he stated, it's like, as much as he loves the game is fundamentally broken. Like, there's just no arguing that. There's no debating that fact. The game is fundamentally broken. There's people saying, John, there was a video made about roasting your Yu-Gi-Oh video. You deserved it. I was like, okay. And then when I watched the video, I was like, oh, great. A guy who's into biased power creep. Great. So why am I going to listen to someone like that? That's just really what it is. You don't see me out here insulting the Yu-Gi-Oh fan base by saying they suck. But I will say that the toxic part of the fan base, because don't say there isn't a toxic part of the fan base. Every fandom has a toxic part of the fan base. And that part of the fan base, you can't tell them nothing. Right now, I want to say this. It's fake fans and fans of power creep that are more so in control of the franchise right now. At least the franchise card game. Not the franchise as a whole. I'm just talking about the card game. Because if you look back and if you look at those comments, they have no arguments. That's all they said. There's one comment that is interesting, and it explains Yu-Gi-Oh to a T with the way he said it. This guy's Jin Kazama 1993. This is a comment from him. Yu-Gi-Oh used to be kind of like chess, and now it's just throw up your entire deck on top of the board and call it a victory. And that explains Yu-Gi-Oh very well. Yu-Gi-Oh was tense the more turns came into play. Like, the longer the game went on, the more tense it got. The more you can't anticipate what your opponent is doing. And just because you know what cards he's using, that doesn't mean you're able to stop them, because it depends how the card is used. Now, don't get me wrong. Yu-Gi-Oh still has good things about it, plenty of good things about it. Okay? And I'm not going to blame people for what era they choose to play or how they choose to play the game, but I will separate and distinguish those who actually love the game and will fight for the game by telling people this is what's wrong with it. Okay? Because we're not drones. That people that say this, we're not dedicated and devoted fanboys. We know how to talk about the game. Okay, so if you make a Yu-Gi-Oh video, this is my advice for anybody. If you make a Yu-Gi-Oh video calling out the faults of the game, and if you see comments saying you're a Yu-Gi-Oh boomer, or talking trash about the old gen of the game, or calling your skills a question, just know that they are fake fans, and just know that they have no argument. Okay, and the best thing you can do is just say, well, thanks for the view. Because at the end of the day, what these idiots are doing for you is they're giving your point traction. They invoke what is called the what is it? The Streisand effect. When they say, "Oh, you shouldn't watch this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about, Yu-Gi-Oh." They're gonna have the opposite effect. Like I saw two videos from a guy called Mega Capital G or Meta Capital G. Let me look this up right quick because I don't want to lose my brain on this. Mega Capital G. Okay, he could have made a video simply explaining why I was wrong without having to feed into the toxic nature of the Yu-Gi-Oh fanboys. But I get it. He needs traction, he needs viewership. We all do, we all get it in one way, shape, or another. But there was a right and a wrong way of how to respond. You could have just said I was wrong and listing why I was wrong in a more digestible manner. But no, he played into the negative nature of what the fanboys wanted to hear. And what I'm not going to do with my videos, I don't go into getting confirmation bias. See, that is the distinct difference of what you need to know. Okay? When making a video about Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you call out the toxic part of the fandom, or if you call out the poor mechanics of the game that has been getting worse and has not improved, you have people that saying, well, if Konami didn't do this, Yu-Gi-Oh! Would have been forgotten. No, it wouldn't have, because that excuse doesn't hold up. Because that means you would have to say, well, Pokemon wouldn't have held up. Magic the Gathering wouldn't have held up. Hell, why are people still playing Solitaire to this day? The mechanics of the game didn't change. All they did was just introduce new cards, but it didn't change the game. So those excuses and defenses don't hold up under scrutiny. So, again, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game is not in this magical spot that people think it's in. It's not in this perfect position, okay? In fact, people think very negatively about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of the problems I have addressed, because of the problems I will continue to address, you know? And the best thing I can do is continue to address why Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in the position that it's in. And people are going to say, what position is in? What is that? You know, they're just not going to be able to argue this without name-calling, insults, and you know how you know you're doing a good job? Like me making this video and them, it triggers them. Why? Because they say, we don't care what you have to say. Well, then why did you watch? Why do you comment? Why are you trying to argue your point? Of course you care. Fucking Neanderthals. Like, that's a Neanderthal type of thought that they're like, we don't care, but we're going to take the effort to comment and say why we don't care. You see what I mean? How these guys are just very easy to clown and nothing they say holds up. I'm going to link my original, well, not my original, but when this video is done, I will link both videos. Both part 1 and part 2, and you guys can see for yourself in the comment section that these guys can't argue the game. Now, it's sad to say that the most hardcore defenders can't even argue for the game's defense, but yet people who have retired from the game, I've read their comments, and they can actually form an argument saying, you know, I can agree to disagree with you on this. And that is the smart people. Those are the smart ones because they can actually form critical thought about the game. You know, and those are the ones I'll interact. I'm not going to interact with people that are just going to come to insult you because you hurt their fifis calling out the problems with the game. And I'm going to continue to say it. People who defend the power creep and who defend the broken nature of the game aren't fans of the game. They are fans of their ego. They are fans of the power that they have and the satisfaction from shitting on others and not allowing others to enjoy the game. Those are one of the problems with current Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Konami's failing to balance the power creep, failing to address the audience for each era and giving them reasons to continue to play. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Needs to be played in eras. You can't just have all in one. That causes big problems, and that causes unfairness for people. Yu-Gi-Oh! Should be divvied up into eras, and they need to limit the rate of all these special summonings from the extra deck and cards that allow you to go into your deck and pull out anything you want. Those need to be limited highly. And there's people who have even said that, yes, it makes sense to limit that. But until that time, Konami is just going to continue to foster the toxic part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Fandom. Okay? And people are going to say what they want about what I have to say. I really don't care what they have to say. I'm not going to acknowledge those people. I'm just going to sit back and laugh at them. Because I know at the end of the day, I love the game. Despite its flaws, I love the game. And if you love something, you're going to criticize something. You will criticize it because you want to see it get better. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Fandom has become basically the Call of Duty fan base, where they have developed such a fucking toxic community that you don't know who's right, who's wrong, or how to even balance the game. Because if you balance the game, then you're going to piss off the people who love power creep. If you support the people that do power creep, you're going to piss off the people that actually enjoy to play the game correctly. So Konami has yet to find that balance. And until that balance is found for the card game, I will continue to say, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Sucks, and it's not going to get any better. Now, I will be working on another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video with Mad Kiyoma. He's going to be explaining more of the bad parts of the modern game, including the issues with the power creep. So, be sure to like, subscribe, favorite, and I will see you all in the next video.